evening. I'd like to call this December 12th, 2024 Radford City Schools School Board meeting to order. Can I please have a moment of silence? All who care to join me, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Ray, would you like to lead us?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Everyone gotten a chance to look at the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, our school and student showcase. Dr. Joyce.
Oh gosh, this is a good one.
Okay.
There's a lot of things to talk about this evening, okay? We're going to start out with a couple of folks that are sitting at this table, and we're going to recognize two of our departing board members. And for just a moment, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to read something that Dr. McDaniel and I have come up with to show you how much we care, okay? On behalf of the entire school division, I want to extend our deepest gratitude for your dedication and service to Radford City Public Schools. Your commitment to our students, family, staff, and community has certainly made a lasting impact. Your leadership and vision have guided this division through many challenges and triumphs, always with the best interests of our students at the forefront of your decisions. Your tireless efforts have helped shape a brighter future for our division, and for that we are forever grateful. As you step down from your role, please know that your contributions will not be forgotten. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors and hope you continue to inspire those around you. Please don't be strangers. Come back and visit. Simply put, thanks for everything. Now, if you will follow me around to the front, we've got a couple of parting gifts for you.
Oh, goodness.
For those of you, I know we've got some folks visiting with us tonight. These are two of our board members, our chair and vice chair, that are finishing up their term tonight. And they'll be, I don't know what you'll be doing, but it won't be here on Tuesday nights every month. So we've had I'll let Dr. McDaniel explain.
Oh, well, go ahead and give them to you so you can kind of look at them as we talk. But
Okay.
Mr. McPeak, his class helped to make these.
Oh, my goodness.
So we've got your rock and R, some important things that happened during your tenure here.
That's awesome.
And your dates and the dates you were chaired.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. McPeak, for this. That's
Yeah.
great.
And his kids, of course, the reception was Mr. Mook and his kids, so try to keep it in-house. Would you guys come around for a picture, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. You got to go up front, sorry.
No. I'll stand on the table.
Are we all going to be in the picture? Okay, perfect.
See, he's trying to make me go up front.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take a couple. Keep smiling.
All right,
Thank
good
you
deal.
so much.
Thank you.
guys.
And before we go back, on behalf of Jane and Chris and I just want to present a little token of our appreciation to Jody. You got a bonus 5 months of service, and we appreciate every minute of it. It was challenging, I know, these past 2 years, and your expertise as a former administrator and a businessman has just been very, very beneficial to us all. But more than that, you've become a really good friend. We will miss you. Thank you.
Oh, that's so nice.
And I get to present yours.
Okay.
You've always had the ear. You've always been understanding. You have led by example.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you have done.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you.
You're welcome. So it's kind of fitting that we informally welcome our incoming board members. If you wouldn't mind helping me welcome Mr. Brian Dobbins and Miss Amanda Winter. So beginning in January, those folks will be up here joining us, and we'll continue the good work for Radford City Schools.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. All right, let's see. There's so many, I had to number them. So yesterday, Dr. McDaniel and I had the distinct pleasure of visiting each school and handing out Teacher of the Year awards. Now, it seems a little early. That's because the state wants them a little earlier this year. So we thought we better get on the ball. And it was a really well thought out process. Lots of nominations, but we can only have one winner per school. In January, we'll pick the division Teacher of the Year. The McCarg Teacher of the Year is Katie Bondurant. She's a first grade teacher. The Bell Heath Teacher of the Year is Miss Michelle Saunders, teaches art. The John Dalton Intermediate School Teacher of the Year is Miss Kelly Morris, our reading specialist. And the Radford High School Teacher of the Year is Mr. Jeff Brown, teaches science. So each Teacher of the Year was nominated and chosen by their colleagues and administrators for their outstanding dedication and performance as a teacher. Each school's Teacher of the Year will submit an application to be considered for the honor of Radford City Public Schools Division-wide Teacher of the Year, to be chosen in January. This is a fairly rigorous process, requires letters of recommendation, essays, and other information about the background and experience that each teacher has. The RCPS Division Teacher of the Year will be named at the school board meeting in January, and that person will send an application to the Virginia Department of Education for Teacher of the Year. We have many deserving teachers who could have been chosen for this honor, and we are very proud of this year's group who were recognized again by their colleagues. So, Teacher of the Year, we'll probably do another reception in January. That'll be fun. Yeah, when we meet, we eat. That's right. I'm really proud of Dr. McDaniel, Blenna Patterson, Jamie Little, and Darlene Lane. They have secured over $70,000 in a new computer science grant. This grant will help us create lesson plans and identify methods for integrating the new computer science standards into our curriculum. Our teachers will go to a CSI boot camp conducted for 18 teachers to update or create lesson plans, develop resources, engage in professional development on technology tools, also purchase materials including Lego kits, materials for our computer science kits, computer science camp, poster printers, and 10 new iPads. So $70,000 secured through the hard work of Dr. McDaniel, Dr. Little, Ms. Patterson, and Ms. Lane. So thank you very much. I have another very special announcement. The American Library Association has selected 46 people to participate in its Emerging Leaders 2025 class. This program is designed to enable library staff to participate in project planning work groups, networking with peers, help gain an inside look at the American Library Association structure, and have an opportunity to serve the profession in a leadership capacity. The program will kick off in Phoenix, Arizona. Participants will continue in a virtual learning and networking environment for 6 months, and it'll culminate in a conference in Philadelphia this June. I say all that to say that the state of Virginia had one participant, one member of this elite group, and that was Dr. Rebecca Kaufman. So congratulations to her. We're very proud of her. All right, let's see. Yes. I also have a significant certificate of recognition for Miss Jane Swing for serving as the delegate in the 2024 VSBA Delegate Assembly. And I don't want to steal your thunder, because later I'd like for you to update us on that conference, but I think you and I had a really good time. It was a very nice conference. Oh, we did not have that much fun. It was all business. But here's your certificate of recognition for being the delegate. Thank you very much. All right. 7. I want to thank Mr. Goad and Ms. Rupert for a great choral concert that was attended by lots of folks at Radford University on Monday. As always, those kids and those teachers really put on a great show. And I want to say, if you're not busy on the 17th, on Tuesday, you should come out to the band concert at the high school. Now, you know what? I'm getting ahead of you, too. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'll let you make up for it. But I want to make sure that Mr. Goad and Ms. Rupert knew what a great show that was. We appreciate Radford University allowing us to be there. And on the 17th, there'll be a really nice band concert in our auditorium. So that being said, I would like to introduce now, Colin Barron is generally here, but Mr. Barron, where's Mr. Simpson? Had what going on tonight?
Auditions.
Scholastic Bowl. And so I said, well, you have to find us someone else right quick. And that was today. I didn't say that, but he volunteered and he said, I'll try. So I'd like now to come to the podium Miss Natalie Green. She's the high school SGA Vice President. She's had zero prep time for this, but she has volunteered and has been gracious enough to step up and tell us about things that are happening at the high school. You can skip the band part, so I covered that for you. No,
I
I'm
love
kidding.
the band. I'm upset.
Okay, sorry. Let's hit the band again.
Yeah, okay. So, as you heard, greetings. My name is Natalie Green, and I am Vice President of RHS. And I'm so glad to be here, and I'm very happy to share about what's been going on at the high school. To get into the festive season, we've been doing the 12 days of holiday, like dress up, during December for teachers and students. This allows us to show not only Bobcat pride, but like also holiday pride. And it's just been a great experience, and I've been having fun with that. We've have been doing Elf Shelf and Adopt a Bobcat. In these programs, students, teachers, and the community give generously to those in need. Me and a few other members of SGA and like the swim and dive team, we've gone out and helped, and I just want to say what they've been doing is spectacular. Room filled with toys and presents. It was amazing. RHS Foundation Award winners were recently announced. Miss Rupert, Dr. Kaufman, Miss Sykes, and Mr. Goad received awards to support classroom projects. Speaking of, all this amazing stuff, we have achievements made by students this year. For senior honors choir, Colin Barron and Jay Ziani, these two, they worked hard and they made it in and performed greatly recently, and I'm very proud of the both of them. Matox Adams had also made second team All-State volleyball, really showing how great the Bobcats really are. On December 10th, Trent Hollinsworth signed for swimming at the University of California, San Diego, and Evie Grimm signed to swim at UMBC. Last Saturday, Santa Paws for FFA held a very successful fundraiser. Many cute animals came along and they sold amazing stuff there too. Just yesterday, auditions for The Little Mermaid had begun, and it's just amazing seeing everyone from every school, not just the high school, but middle school and elementary, working on the fine arts. That was amazing to see. On December 9th, the Radford High School, the choir, had their concert. I know we talked about that a little bit. I was a part of that, and I just want to say it went amazing. And the chamber ensemble hasn't just done that one performance, but they've been going to churches, and they're going to like retirement homes, all these places to sing and spread some holiday cheer. Some upcoming events. December 17th, there will be a band concert at RHS, and they're very talented, and they've been working hard, so I do suggest anybody who wants to see it go. And for basketball, there will be a time to honor Coach Rick Cormany and his family on December 18th, with the court officially becoming Cormany Court. This will take place before the Radford versus Salem boys basketball game. The ceremony will be right before the varsity game, tips off at 7 o'clock. Thank you for listening to the updates, and have an amazing winter season.
Thank you for stepping
Thanks,
in.
Natalie.
Good job.
She announced the choir and band news much better than I did. Mr. Howard, would you please pull up the slideshow for our newest Bobcat? Mr. Calfee, I'm going to turn the show over to you, if that's okay. Mr. Howard, his script should follow the slides pretty closely, but if not exactly, we're okay with that.
Worst case, we'll adapt, adjust, and overcome best we can.
Just look at me and I'll flip it.
Fair enough. Thank you, Dr. Joyce. I appreciate that. And everyone, I did make some notes because I want to make sure I get this right as much as I can. Today, we actually not only have the opportunity to celebrate and honor a former Bobcat, but we have the good fortune to recognize and honor this person on their birthday. So it is kind of a fortuitous event, and it's to show how much that really is just the benefit of timing, this project actually started last January. So it really wasn't planned, it just happened out that way, and it was kind of fun the way it works. As many of you know, the King Center on RHS campus was named in honor of Dr. James P. King. Last January the 2nd, the chance to receive a donation from Dr. King's family came about, and we were very excited to humbly accept. I would like to thank Carolyn King Gaskins, RHS class of 1996, for the donation of this beautiful Bobcat on behalf of the King family in honor of Dr. James P. King, RHS class of 1922. Dr. King was born December 12th, 1903. So I'll say happy birthday to Dr. King, and a very grateful thank you to Carolyn King Gaskins and the entire King family for their never-ending contributions and support of the Bobcat family. And we should have there we go. And move on, yep, there's a picture of Dr. King when he was rough and tumble in his Bobcat gear. So, also thank you to Dr. Joyce for his work to ensure the Bobcat is properly displayed in a fitting enclosure for many years to come, in case if you don't want to go back to the other. The Bobcat will be placed in its permanent location in the King Center, I hope very soon, where it can be enjoyed for all who come to see it. So again, we want to say a very, very grateful thank you to the King family for this generous donation. And thank you to everyone who had hands in providing what I feel like is a fitting tribute, not only to our school, but to our community.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank Norman's Cabinetry for treating us very fairly on the cabinets. Very nice. Thank you, Mr. Howard. And that, Ms. Chair Lady, is my report. I had to make sure.
You got it all.
I got a ring list.
You did it. All right. Thank you so much. Moving on to our public hearing for the 25-26 school budget.
There is nobody signed up as far as I know.
Oh, this is for the
public hearing.
for the public hearing. So there's nobody signed up?
No one is here to speak for the budget?
Did we miss one?
Oh, that's right. I knew it. That's what got me stumbled. What is it you say? Overcome and
Adapt, adjust, and overcome.
So we
Mr.
will
Keister, I sincerely apologize.
back right up. And we'll
Our
have a card.
school showcase tonight is McCarg Elementary School. No, we didn't get too far, and thank you all for looking out
Thanks
for
for
me.
catching it.
Pull it down, 'cause they can't stand behind the podium.
Yeah, okay.
So just pull it over.
Or you can have one of our.
Okay, that's fine. We'll improvise, adapt, and overcome.
That's
So
catching on.
I have had the privilege over the past week to meet with a couple of our exceptional second grade Bobcats. So if I could ask Micah and Madeline to come on up. And we've talked and we've chatted and we've laughed and we've talked about all kinds of different things over the past few days, haven't we? But we started off talking about just how the year's going now that they're the top students at McCarg Elementary as second graders, you know, what they enjoyed about second grade. And then we also wanted to mention we have a big event coming up, but I'll let them talk first and then we'll talk about the big event.
Hi, my name is Madeline and I am in Miss Penn's class.
Hi, my name is Micah and I'm in Miss Swirl's class.
I have enjoyed second grade because I have been able to make new friends. My favorite classes this year are art, PE, and math. I have really enjoyed being in Miss Penn's class because she helps us learn stuff that we don't already know.
This year, I even really enjoyed being challenged. Math is one of my favorite classes because Miss Swirl makes learning fun for all of us.
So they both have had a lot of things to say about their teachers and the fun things that they've been doing in class. But then, so this weekend on Saturday we have a big event that's coming up, and probably the biggest event that we hold at McCarg. So I will let them talk about that just for a second.
On Saturday, we have a big event at McCarg. We have our annual Santa breakfast, and this is at least the 13th year. I am excited about coming this year because I can bring my family and see all the decorations.
You can come and meet. You can come meet and take pictures with Santa and Mrs. Claus. We will have a light breakfast with coffee and drinks. We will also have stations to play games and make crafts.
Stop by and bring your wrist for Santa.
Our doors open at 8 a.m. and we have an online sign up.
All right, don't leave yet. All right, is there any questions for our exceptional Bobcats here about our Santa breakfast or anything else?
So what's your favorite part about Santa breakfast?
That I get to enjoy all the decorations.
Oh, that's true. You
Yeah,
already
that's right.
said that, didn't you? Nice.
Micah, do you have a favorite part?
I've actually never been.
Oh, okay.
Maybe your first
You were
year.
supposed to leave that part out of it. Yeah, just kidding.
So this is the biggest event of the year for families, is that right?
This is probably the biggest event of the
So
year for all
when I was there
families.
for Halloween and the line stretched down the sidewalk and up by the building and up by the next street,
We hope to surpass that.
oh, well, Santa's gonna be worn out. That's great.
So, all right, thank you guys.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Great job.
I think I almost skipped over that.
You can't skip over
I
Santa
know.
breakfast. That's the biggest event, for sure.
Now, I'm gonna make sure that's all we have. Is that everything? Okay.
All right, so we didn't
Thank
have
you.
anybody sign up for the public hearing?
No.
Okay. All right, moving on to the consent items. Everybody got a chance to look at the minutes from last month
Yes.
and our superintendent's authority to appoint personnel between meetings. We had bills and petty cash reports. And field trip request and student activities. Looks like we have another one added in here.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Bell Heath Choir. Where are they gonna get to go? They're going somewhere. All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. And let's see, do we have anybody signed up for public comment? No? Okay. Moving right along to our report of the superintendent.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna take the liberty to swap places with the agenda
Okay.
for just a moment, because we've got some folks that came a long distance to be with us tonight. I want to thank Daniel Hill. He's the one that introduced me to this concept, and I just loved everything I heard about it. And I said, can you get those folks to come and see us? And he said, I'll try. And here we are from Danville, Virginia. Is that right? We have representatives from the Shining Diamonds Mentoring Service. And I want to hear from these folks and learn more about your program. So if you wouldn't mind, take the podium. Thank you very much. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and treats and a pen and I needed a pen. My pencil's broken. Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. Treats. Yeah.
The eraser won't stay in it. And it won't.
You don't need an eraser, do you?
That's a nice one.
Good evening, Radford City Schools.
Good evening.
Good evening.
These are my old stomping grounds. I went to undergrad here at RU and served as a fraternity advisor for the last 20 years. And my name is Marvin Martin. I was an advisor at Virginia Tech with the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, as well as Radford University, where I went to undergraduate there. But so I have some close ties to Radford, and we're here tonight to talk about our services. We're based out of Danville, Virginia, which we've been working with youth. We also work in Halifax, Virginia, Pennsylvania County, Martinsville. So we're expanding our services now that we've got a tight grip handle on some of the things that we've been doing and some of the successes that we've seen. So let me just talk about our truancy program. Now this started back years ago when we have a huge pandemic right now, as we all know. Children don't want to go to school, right? And it's happening more and more. No matter where you are, children don't want to go to school for multiple reasons, and there are several contributing factors to that. So we have a program that we've designed through expertise and evidence-based models and things that we do, such as, I'm going to bring Mr. Roger Williams. He's our program director. I'm the executive director at Shining Diamonds. But go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon. I am Roger Williams. So a few things that we put in place to help prevent truancy is making sure we have our parents engaged in the services, because a lot of the issues are the kids aren't being encouraged to go to school. And there are many different reasons why the kids aren't going, and the parents can't be involved. Maybe they're working, maybe they have more than one child. So we believe in encouraging parents to be a part of the program as well. Part of what we do is, if kids are not in school, we will go pick them up and take them to school. We knock on doors, which isn't always the most pleasant thing, but but we knock on doors. We get parents involved, because one thing that we were seeing a lot of in Danville, and that was parents were actually getting charged and having to face jail time for not sending their kids to school. So we're big on encouraging parents to get involved, get active, and know what's going on with your kids. We hold parenting classes. We have someone who teaches our parents as well if their children are truant, because the court system was holding us accountable, because we are a vendor for the city and the kids still aren't going to school. So I'm really glad to say that this month alone, we've discharged 6 kids from our program that was truant and that's no longer truant. They are going to school every day. So we're really glad of that. But it took a lot of hard work to get that done. And like I said, it took a lot to get parents involved, to make sure that their kids go to school, to make sure that they send them to school, because the judge back home was not friendly to us as well as to the parents. So we didn't want to be in trouble. We didn't want to be held accountable for not doing our job. So we had to really put a lot of pressure on the parents to get their kids to go to school, and they're going. And like I said, we've discharged just from the month of November 6 kids for not being truant anymore. So we had an amazing celebration for those 6 kids. We were really proud of that. And like I said, there's other contributing components to the truancy program. I'm going to let Mr. Marvin talk more about how he put the idea together to put someone in place to communicate with the guidance counselors, with the attendance clerk, showing up at the schools every day, getting a list of the kids that are not attending school, and then we get Mr. Tyler to get in the car and go get them. So I'll let Mr. Marvin tell you a little bit more.
So before I even talk about that, I will tell you, because I know one question would be, how effective are you? Well, right now we're at 92%, 92.8% effective, you know, and I know they say, you know, Marvin, you can't save them all, you can't save them all, because we do a lot of mentoring in the streets with the youth. I work with a lot of the gang members in Danville. We've been able to cut our gang activity down probably about 20%, and it doesn't seem a lot, but once you're out there just in the community, you can tell a difference, and you feel much safer than, you know, I'd say 10 years ago when I first started in Danville doing these things and working with the kids, you know, shootings all over. But with our truancy program, so what we do, we have our truancy specialists. We have youth specialists, and then we have our truancy specialists. Our truancy specialists oversee our youth specialists that work directly with the kids. We do one-on-one, we do group engagements so we can educate. Education is the biggest thing, because like Mr. Williams said, most parents don't know that if your children are not in school, you can go to jail, or they can go into foster care, or they can go in Danville, or they can go to the juvenile detention. In Danville, they call it foster care Fridays, when the kids come out and the judge sends probably about, I would say about 60% to foster care for truancy reasons, and then that's when they'll get us involved. But having truancy professionals at the school will help cut Radford's truancy rates down. We'll work with the truancy specialist that you guys have here. I can't remember her name, but I do know you guys have one, and I heard she's doing an amazing job. What we're gonna do, we're gonna work with the principals. We're gonna go out. We're gonna go into the communities. We're gonna make sure that the kids are in school. We're gonna educate the youth by examples. We also provide things for, I would say, rewarding systems. We give different rewards. We organize school trips to colleges and universities and football games. Virginia Tech, we've taken some kids to North Carolina A&T, we've taken some kids to the Radford Highlanders basketball games for improving their truancy. So I know our ways can help here, and it will give you guys a little bit less of a headache when it comes to that truancy word, and it's more prevalent now than ever, and it's here, and I don't think it's going anywhere unless you start adding services and people that really care, and a lot of times the schools are like, well, we don't have time, our principals are busy, our guidance counselors are doing SOL testing, they're helping youth, so that's why now they're starting to bring in service agencies that specialize in reducing the truancy rate to make sure that the schools stay on target as far as money, because we know that does affect budgets, because if kids are not going to school, what happens? Your budgets get cut. So we want to make sure that our implementation to this, we're going to work directly to the parents, to the students. We're going to motivate the students through several different ways, and we're going to help them get to school. We're going to go pick them up. We're going to call. We're going to knock on the doors. We might seem like a nuisance to the parents, but trust me, you guys are going to love us once we get into schools, and we're going to work closely to the attendance secretaries every single day. And I know Radford has Dalton Intermediate. I know they have Radford High School, and I know they have Bill Heath and McCard. So in my expert opinion, I think if you had a youth specialist there with a truancy specialist overseeing everyone, and say, for example, at the beginning, we'll get a list from the schools, from the principals, from the attendance clerks that's going to say, hey, we've got this list of students. So we will jump in immediately and attack the problem and start educating. We'll schedule group meetings with the parents. What else does parents want to do besides sitting an hour or 2-hour class about truancy education? But it's important because our kids got to go to school, and our kids need to learn that school is important to our everyday well-being.
Great.
Would you like to add something to it?
Just a slight introduction. Excuse me. I'm Antonio Edmonds. I'm one of the administrative. This is Tyler. He's the truancy specialist, and this is Cassandra. She's our secretary. It's a great program. It really works. We've had a lot of success. And Marvin, he's good at what he do. That's all I can say.
So we just moved in our office space here, so we're excited to be here.
Yeah. And we offer other services such as tutoring. We're going to do one-on-one mentoring with CSA as well, provide actual one-on-one, like direct support. That's what our kids need, because you have so many kids lost because of different contributing factors. You might have low parental support. You may have, embarrassments because kids, they don't want to go to school because they'll feel embarrassed because they may not be academically on the level which everyone else in their class is. But with work and our experience in our program, we can improve that. And also we do bullying prevention programs. We can do that in the schools as well. It's a gang prevention programs. I'm not sure if the gang system has really hit Radford, but we know in some of the other areas in the state, Danville used to be, 1 and 2. Now I think they're down to about 4 or 5 in the state of Virginia. So with hard work, we've decreased those numbers.
So you've
one
opened,
student at a time.
So you've opened an office here in Radford already?
We're getting everything together. We've already got it right over there by Cookout, and we're going to have it painted. We're going to have We're gonna have computers in there for schools, for the kids to come if they're struggling. Our youth specialists can actually take their kid to the school, to the office and say, hey, listen, what are you lacking in? Are you lacking in math? Or do you need help with reading and language arts? So those are the things that we're trying to help to give our youth a better shot that they may not think that they have. And trust me, a lot of kids, they don't know the opportunities that they have until they actually are really educated, because education is key. And when I used to speak at schools, I used to say, listen, education is money, because it is. So I would tell the kids, work in school like you're getting paid, because you really are. Eventually, one day it's gonna pay off. But yeah, that's my conclusion. Are there any questions?
So you guys have come from Danville, and that means a lot to us, to
Yes,
travel all
absolutely.
this way. And I look forward to seeing what kind of partnership that this division and your folks can forge. So,
Definitely. And we've already interviewed, we've got staff prepared, and we're gonna be training. If you guys give us opportunity, we'll be here, I'll be here, training, implementing our system, making sure that it's going exactly the way that it's going in Danville, Halifax, and the other counties that we serve.
Mr. Martin, I'm curious, and one, thank you all for coming in, because it is a trip. I've made that several times for business, and it's not a bad drive, but it's not a fun drive all the time either. So, if I'm not mistaken, the facility that you all have secured is the old Dalton TV Repair
Yes,
Center right
yes.
next to Cookout.
Yes, Mr. Bain.
If it really doesn't make a lot for anybody that hasn't been around here for a while, but we all know where it's at. But do you all take calls or questions from the general public about services? Can they contact you directly to ask questions about the services offered, or is it something that is strictly contracted through the schools and we would?
Well, it's technically generally contracted through the schools.
Sure.
And through CSA funding.
Okay.
Also, we're contracted through EBA, Evidence-Based Associates, with the court systems. We do a lot of work in the courts.
Okay.
Because of our gang prevention program. So we're like #1 agency with that. But I know it's traveling. I know, and I was just talking to someone earlier here in Radford today, and they was like, yeah, I've seen some activity in Blacksburg. So if it's in Blacksburg, trust me, it's here in Radford. And Pulaski is heavy. So we're planning on working in Pulaski as well.
I was just curious, as I was reading through, and it's the services brochure that you provided is phenomenal. I did read through the information we received beforehand, but I was just curious with my question, because I'm thinking some of these things may be interested, may have parents or families interested in those that, if they can't provide all the services, could they seek your services out individually?
They can.
Because
sure.
what I'm hearing in my head is, the underlying message of it always takes a big heart to work with one child.
Right.
And sometimes it's a matter of not always, proper care and love is not always soft.
True.
It's caring, but it's not always soft.
Right.
I'm gonna come knock on your door, and I'm gonna say, look, why aren't you in school today? I know in my own home, I go and, I knock on the door of my youngest. I'm like, baby girl, you gotta get up. I know you don't like it, but I didn't ask if you liked it. I said you had to get up. So I respect that, and I appreciate what y'all are doing, and the tone of everything there, I appreciate it. I was just curious if families had some interest, could they seek some additional services?
And
something,
what we've done in the past, because a lot of families that we serve couldn't afford the services.
Sure.
But in my, I can't speak for my whole agency, but in my profession, what I've done, I've always had a open door policy. Basically, if I was your mentor or life coach, I'm your life coach for years. I've got youth that's calling me, kids that maybe been locked up, they call me from prison. I've got kids that's graduated from Radford University that I took on a college trip, a young man that was heavily in the gang life. So we practice like some of the tough love, but you also have to be able to show love. It all starts with love, and if a youth, a child knows that you care, they will break down that wall. They'll break down that wall for you just to prove that, hey, you've shown so much investment in me. Let me do something to what I'm supposed to do.
Sure.
Yep.
I have a question about your projected capacity. I noticed there was a proposal of billing on one of the pieces of paper. How many students would you expect to be able to serve?
Well,
here in Radford?
that's
Or I don't know how you measure all that.
Well, that's-
Just help me understand.
Okay, do you want? Okay, all right. So basically, the key, well, in Virginia, if we're doing one-on-one services, the ratio is 1 to 6 clients.
Okay.
That's it. That's not in the school system though, but that's one-on-one, outside, and actually, an effective mentor, you really need, not just in the schools, you really need wraparound services all through to maximize your success. But, so say for example, at the school level, we will customize it. Say for example, the Radford High School they have 30 clients, they have 30 youth that need services. We know one person can't really do that, so we could break it down. So it's a customized fit. We customize it based on the feedback that the principals, the Mr. Where's that guy at back there? Yeah, we get the feedback that is needed. We're not gonna just, cause some of the pieces you may be like, okay, well, we don't need this piece, So it's not nothing set in stone, but we customize it, and that's what I think that's why we've been more effective, because we customize. It's almost like a IEP, individualized education plan. We individualize our service to customize to fit the school setting and the school needs.
Thank you.
Yes. You're welcome.
Other questions? Again, thank you guys for coming to see us tonight. It was a pleasure. Thanks for all the information and the ink pen and the mints. It's all very special. And I'm going to work through Mr. Hill with this. We'll contact your agency, and hopefully, like I said, we'll get together and make great things happen.
Thank you all.
Thank you all
We
so
really
much.
appreciate the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Have a safe
Look forward to
trip home.
serving you.
Drive safely.
Thank you.
All right. We've been hearing about VLA for a long time. Yet here we are, and it's being implemented. And it's very exciting. And so, not being a teacher, I think it's very exciting. I know it's a lot of work on Ms. Cox and her crew, the teachers at our elementary schools. But if you will, turn to your division literacy plan, and we are going to ask Ms. Cox to come up and give us the latest. This is her latest updated and edited plan, and we're excited to see this in action because we really think it's going to make a great deal of difference in our kids' reading ability. Thank you, Ms. Cox.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm glad to be able to share some updates for our division literacy plan with you tonight. When I first spoke with you about our initial plan back in June, we shared the details and we turned that in to the VDOE, and we did get full approval for that initial plan. And since then, the VDOE has strongly encouraged all divisions to submit an update to their division literacy plan, and we just turned ours in last week, so I wanted to briefly go over the updates to the 6 sections of the plan with you so that we're all up to date and on the same page. Section 1 talks about communication with our stakeholders and families, and an update includes quarterly updates on report cards from our title team. And the updates will include how we're doing, progressing through our division literacy plan. So those report card newsletters from the title team have always included strategies and resources that families could use at home to support their children as they learn to read, but we also want to make sure we're keeping families up to date on the progress of this plan. And if anybody is interested in hearing more about that, we will be sharing more at our Title I annual meeting, which is going to be Monday at 5 o'clock at McCarg. Now, we scheduled that a long time ago before the parade was rescheduled to that night, but we promised to keep it brief. We would love for you all to come and hear from us at 5 o'clock, and then stick around. The feed program will be offering a free meal, and their program that evening is focusing on healthy parenting, and we will still get you out the door in time to make it to the parade, but it will be worthwhile to get more information about that. The second section of the plan talks about high-quality instructional materials. And you may recall that for kindergarten through 5th grade, we adopted and are implementing HMH into reading for our core literacy instruction, and that's going well so far. We're excited to announce that we have added HMH into literature for our 6th graders. So now those students also will get to benefit from that systematic, explicit literacy instruction in their classrooms. We also wanted to be more intentional about services for our gifted students. So for students in 3rd through 5th grade who are gifted learners, they're also getting to participate in novel studies in small groups. And that's happening outside the literacy block, so they can still get the benefits of that solid core instruction and have the opportunity to dig deeper into some novels on their levels. We're also excited about the addition of Lexia English for our English learners. So all students in kindergarten through 6th grade participate in Lexia, Core 5, or Power Up for individualized reading and writing instruction. But we realized for our English learners they needed more support. So Lexia English provides extra individualized practice for them in the areas of speaking, listening, and grammar. And we're seeing good results with that program for those learners so far. Section 3 focuses on the training that our teachers and staff members are participating in this year. And as a VLA requirement, all kindergarten through 8th grade English language arts and content area teachers are completing Canvas courses through UVA and the Virginia Literacy Partnerships. They're intense courses on the science of reading, and teachers are expected to complete about 1 module each month with the goal of finishing before the start of the next school year. So in addition to the Canvas courses, our reading specialists and principals also attended in-person reading institutes where they learn more about effective evidence-based literacy instruction. We're also providing ongoing training for HMH and Lexia and the teachers and staff members who are implementing those programs to make sure we're using all of the resources as effectively as we can. Section 4 is about student assessment, and there were not big changes to this section, but we did clarify exactly which groups of students participate in each testing window of VALS, and VALS is the state literacy screener. So in the fall, most of our preschool through 3rd grade students participated in VALS, and 38% of our students scored in the high risk band. So that means 38% fell into the group of students most at risk of developing reading difficulties. So that was a big challenge for our reading teachers who created 143 individualized student reading plans. And since that time, the classroom teachers and reading teachers in grades kindergarten through 3 have been working hard to implement those student reading plans with the extra intervention to help those students achieve the goals and objectives in those individualized plans. And we're hoping to see some good progress on mid-year VALS in January, since the students have been receiving the solid core instruction in addition to supplemental and intervention instruction. So we're hoping that those high-risk band numbers come down.
So can I interrupt? Those high-risk
Certainly.
band numbers can come down mid-year?
Yes, so the students will be reassigned to a band at mid-year. And for example, if a child scored high risk in the fall but scores at moderate risk in the middle of the year, then we're no longer required to provide 2.5 extra hours of intervention each week. But we do keep that student reading plan in place for the remainder of the year just to make sure we're maintaining the focus on the goals and objectives. But we just have a little more leeway in how we would provide the services. It could be in a small group with a classroom teacher rather than with a reading specialist.
Good. It'll be interesting to see that number drop.
Yes, and if the numbers seem alarming to you, it is high, but it is in line with other divisions around the state. Section 5 talks about how are we monitoring and keeping track with progress across the division. So looking at McHarg and Bell Heath, how are we making sure that we're making progress toward our division literacy plan? And one thing that we have added that's going very well is letting classroom teachers participate in peer-to-peer walkthrough observations. So they're not evaluative, but it gives the classroom teachers the opportunity to go in and watch other teachers providing literacy instruction. And McHarg's teachers just finished their first round of these observations, and they gave us some feedback today, and they were very positive about it. Teachers felt reassured to see, oh, I am teaching it right. We are doing it the same way. And they almost all came away with some positive new strategy or idea that they were looking forward to implementing in their own classroom. And Bell Heath will be performing their peer-to-peer walkthroughs right after our winter break. And then all of those classroom teachers will have one more opportunity this year to go watch a different teacher teaching. But we're getting some good feedback and really helping us focus on our division-wide goals by seeing what they are observing. And finally, section 6 talks about how we're engaging parents and caregivers and the community. And this update gave us the chance to clarify that the parents of students who score in the high-risk band are involved in the development of their child's student reading plan. We also got to tell more about our family engagement events. So McCarg and Belheath each offer 2 of those family engagement events each year. This fall, McCarg had their trick-or-treat reading trail. And that was attended, as you heard, by over 700 people.
Yes.
And Belheath offered Choose Your Own Adventure Night with a space theme this year, and we worked in collaboration with Radford University scientists and students to really enhance that experience. And both school events were very well received. And we're excited to be in the planning stages for the spring events right now so that we can hopefully find more ways to offer engagement and learning opportunities for our families. We also are going to offer a summer reading initiative so that we're providing books and other resources and strategies to help the students maintain this progress that we've worked hard on all school year so that they can prevent that summer slide. And that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. Do you have questions for me now?
Sounds like you all have been working very hard.
We have been working very hard, and
Yeah.
the teachers are really, they've just embraced this HMH curriculum. We said this is what we're gonna have to do, and they've just come in and they've done it, made the best of it. And it's been exciting to see how, yes, they're implementing it with fidelity, but they're working hard to make it engaging for the children at the same time. Well, if you come up with any questions at any other later time, feel free to reach out. Thank you
I
very
just
much.
want to say I love the peer-to-peer observation. I would have loved that
I
as a
agree.
classroom teacher. I think that can be help you grow a lot.
It's helpful for new teachers and veteran teachers because we get to go in and just really see what's happening and bring the best of what we witnessed back into our own classroom.
Yeah,
It's pretty
I
great.
love it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I'm just so proud of the work that Ms. Cox and Dr. McDaniel and the teachers and the kids are putting towards this. This is a huge initiative across the state, and it's a lot of work, and I know the teachers have gone through countless hours of training trying to prep for this. And they're just really making a difference in the way our kids are learning to read. And it will follow those kids, I would imagine, especially if we implement this in middle school, all the way through middle school and high school, and there'll be a huge change in the way our kids feel about reading. So this is a lot of work, so thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. All right, so as we alluded to earlier, Ms. Swing and I went to Williamsburg a couple of weeks ago for the annual VSBA conference. It was a time for board members and superintendents to talk about creating budgets, to talk about upcoming legislation in Richmond, to talk about best practices for school board governance and things like that. It was a really good conference. It was very well put together. Those folks are on top of things. And Ms. Swing, now if you would like to, you can speak a little bit to your experience, because I know you went to some meetings that I wasn't allowed to go to.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
A report from the delegate meeting, which you weren't allowed to go to.
Right.
I presented at our last meeting 4 amendments that were to be voted on. Amendment number 2 did not pass. It was voted down because of some of the wording in it that members of the body questioned the clarity of the meaning of. The other 3 amendments were passed, and most of them dealt with membership and responsibilities and that type of thing. I met and spoke with lots of vendors that might potentially have services such as the folks we heard from tonight, have services that we might want to look into, and Adam and I kind of talked about some of those we both saw and what else we might want to get additional information from. And it's really a good time to talk with people from across the state and find out what challenges they're facing and what successes they're having and how they're meeting that. And it's a great time to talk with people
Sure.
and see from little bitty school divisions like us. I mean, I consider us small with just 4 schools to, those people way up north.
Right. The good news is, a lot of the vendors and their products that they were presenting to make things better for us and students, we already had.
We had, yeah,
Right.
I walked by a couple and they went, oh, Radford, yeah, we do business with you.
Right.
And I went, oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But you got to give me free.
Right.
Trying to get the swag.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And so it's nice to be sort of validated in that respect that, you know, if this is some sort of cutting edge, we were already on board. So that's pretty neat. And also, we value the work that VSBA does for us as far as policy goes. Anytime, you know, Richmond gets jazzy and throws something down our way, it filters through the VSBA, and they iron out our policy, and we're happy for that. We could never do that on our own. So we appreciate that as well. But it was a great conference. I'm glad that we were able to go. We spent a lot of time, Ms. Swing and I did together, and we're happy for it. Thank you very much. Quickly, so on Friday, the 20th, it's a half day for our kids. That is the last day of school for several weeks for our Christmas, winter, holiday vacation. So we, as schools and offices, will be closed December 23rd through January 3rd. We've got a great professional development kickoff on January the 6th that we're very happy to partner with Radford University. So our teachers will be attending that on the 6th, and then kids will come back on the 7th. So we're looking forward to that. Okay, quickly, I want to update you guys, Mr. Oh, okay. It's not too long, but thank you. We'll see how it goes. If you don't mind, Mr. Howard, putting up our personal electronic device policy update. As you guys know, back in August, we instituted, sort of dipped our toe into the new communication device ban, if you will. That's a strong word. But we wanted to introduce our kids and families to the idea that cell phones didn't have a place in our day of instruction. And I believe at that time, initially, it was very well received. I know that some kids are getting creative now. A lot of kids are looking down at their seats during class. Can't imagine why. But, and that's really hard. I mean, that's tough on the teachers. That is, there's no one to blame for that. It's just that I think there was a little bit of a honeymoon period of time, and now the kids are drifting back into what they feel like they need, but when you and I know they don't need. So since they are getting creative, we've decided to counterpoint. So in line with the Governor's Executive Order 33, we have updated our regulation to include cell phones. Now, I'm sure it won't work, Stacy. Cell phones are allowed on school property. That hasn't changed, but must be off and out of sight during class. That has not changed. But the part that has changed is that now the device is prohibited during bell-to-bell school day. That and there's a slide for this coming up, but that will mean from the tardy bell in the morning, the last bell, to the first bell in the afternoon, the dismissal bell, that cell phones are to be off and out of sight. Okay? Dalton Intermediate School and Radford High School, first bell rings at 7:50. That's the start of the academic day. This includes lunch, and that'll be a change that the students have not had to worry about. We let them use them during lunch, but in order to stay in line with Executive Order 33 and the policies that have been created around that, that will now include lunch. And I don't believe we weren't letting them use it during class changes anyway, so that's not a change. But the lunch period will be a change. And then when the first dismissal bell rings at the end of the instructional school day, of course, they can then have their phones back out and check their messages. There are exceptions to this policy. For educational purposes, that'll be prior permission from the principal. That will be days advance, not minutes, from the teacher. Emergency situations, this again will be principal approved as needed. And then there are exceptions with our IEPs, our Section 504 plans, and our healthcare plans. So an IEP requirement exception might be access to a personal device as needed for your plan. For your 504 also could be used to align with documented needs. Your healthcare plan provisions would include medical necessities for device use. Most notably, that is for our kids with diabetes, and also our assistive technology, where school-provided devices are preferred when possible over the cell phone, but we can also take those on a case-by-case basis. Questions so far? I do want to make sure that our families understand that school is not responsible for theft or damage to the phone or losing the phone. So up and away would be put your phone up, generally in your book bag. I'm not sure how much our kids use their lockers now, which would be a great, no, they just don't. So the book bag is the next safest place to keep it, because that's generally with them most places they go. But I just want to make sure that we're not accountable for those things. And kids are encouraged to leave their phones at home. Not going to go there, but when we were growing up, I think I speak for everyone at this table, that we didn't have cell phones, and we turned out just fine. But well, I think I turned out okay. I don't know. But we didn't have really the addictive social media aspect. And I think that's what that is. If you'll read the research, and I know we all have, that social media is really what this is about. It's not the device, it's the message that the device carries. So our key takeaways from this presentation tonight will be that the devices are turned off during school hours. That is bell to bell, from the first tardy bell to the first dismissal bell. Exceptions do require approval from the administration. We will, of course, make accommodations for special needs, and we are not liable for loss, theft, or damage. In conjunction with the research on the harms of social media as it relates to our youth, we believe this policy balances technology access with a focused learning environment. Okay, simply put. There's the, I don't expect you to read that on the screen. You have it before you. And I do have a definition of the term bell to bell at the bottom. Means from when the first bell rings at the start of the day until the first dismissal bell rings. This would include any field trips during the school day. This would include any trips to any other schools. We would adhere to our policy, not theirs. This would not particularly pertain to a sporting event where you might want to have your phone out on the school bus on your way to and from that sporting event. But it does mainly focus on the instructional day at our schools. And I'm happy to field questions.
So from what I'm hearing, the only difference from what we've done since the beginning of August is that students are allowed to use it during the lunch period.
Right.
That's the only adjustment we've made.
Right.
And that, there's concerns online. I'm on We Are Radford. We're on the War page. And people were concerned. This is not saying you have to leave your phone at home. This is not, all of the hubbub.
Right.
The only difference from what we've been doing that has been wildly successful and supportive for teachers and for students and for administrators and school counselors is that it's just not during the lunch period. It's the only change. Right. That we're making it to be more adherent to.
Yeah, this puts us right in line with the executive order. Dr. McDaniel and I have met with student leaders. We've met with our principals and our teacher leaders. We've gotten very positive feedback. I do know that the principals are planning a rollout before we leave for Christmas. So there'll be a couple of communications going home about the change that will happen on the 7th. And we'll give parents and families a chance to ask questions if needed. Otherwise, we feel like our rollout's pretty all-inclusive. And it's on the news every night. So this isn't anything that we feel like is too far out. It's right in line. And we've heard really positive things from the kids. A lot of kids are telling us they don't miss their phone. They're glad they don't have access to their phone. They feel better. They're talking more. I've heard parents tell me just this week that their child's come out of their shell. They're no longer looking down at their phone all the time. Even when they're at home, they're used to not being able to have their phone. So when they get home, they sort of forgot they have it. So I'm looking for a lot of positive feedback as we move forward with just adding lunch.
I think it's one of those situations that the key term that I took away is it's an addictive property.
It is.
When you look at the research, you look at the information, you talk to the people involved, we've all seen it even in our own families in many cases. It is, electronic device and utilization of social media is an addictive property. So that's why, your comment was perfect when you said, we've had this policy in place for a while and the students are getting more creative. Why? Because frankly, it's what an addict does. They get more creative in how to utilize the subject that they are addicted to. Now, is that the case in every situation? No. I'm very glad, and I would call attention to anyone, because it caught my attention, there are exceptions.
Sure.
there had to be. Initially, my concern was with, the executive order coming from the state, there weren't exceptions there. It was, this is it, you're done. I very vocally took issue with that in our first meeting. I'm like, there has to be exceptions to that. And I even said, I know a couple people who will immediately be, outlaws in this because I'm not allowing that to happen. But, we have made provisions for that, and I think that's very effective. The one thing that and you answered one of two questions that I noted on my own paper here. Educational purposes, prior permission from the principal. I think that's putting a lot of burden on the principal on face value, but you address that by saying, the teacher's going to come to me, the classroom educator's going to come to me and say a couple days ahead of time, hey, look, I need cell phones for this reason. And, Adam, you're nodding in the back, so yeah, that's what we want. It is something that we're aware of. It is, an opportunity there to utilize, because in many cases, a cell phone or a smart device has taken the place of even scientific calculators in many of the classrooms. So instead of saying you have to buy this, if you have access to that, please access it now, turn it sideways, there's your scientific calculator, off we go. And I'm good with that, I don't have any issues with that. The issue with, no cell phones at lunch, yeah, I'm all over it. Because the only issues I've heard about the cell phone policy were things that came up during lunchtime.
Right.
We're like, okay, you're electronically bullying another student during lunch. We literally gave you one opportunity to use this device, and you used it for a nefarious purpose on the one chance you had.
Right.
Thank you for proving our point.
Right.
So I'm okay with that. Obviously it sounds like you guys got a great plan for kind of weaning everybody into that. It's coming.
We hope so.
It's not, we decide this tonight and tomorrow, by the way, good luck.
Yeah, that would have been tough.
That's unfair in my opinion. So I think you're doing it in a very fair, very just way, which I always expect. But the one thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So if you can help me understand it, I'd appreciate it. Emergency situations, principal approval needed. Now, we can one-off situation that to infinitum, and I won't do that because I don't want to. But I can't imagine a scenario in my head where we have an emergency situation that comes up, and tongue-in-cheek, please, I don't want emails, I don't want phone calls. It's just I'm old, it's the phrase that comes to mind, smoke them if you got them sort of thing, of, there's something bad happened, here you go, kids, good luck. I mean, how are we approaching that? Cell phone use, principal approval needed in an emergency. Are we talking about, student goes to the nurse's office, sitting there saying, I'm bleeding, can I call my mom? Like, yeah, sure. Or are we talking about there's a school-wide emergency, which I'm seeing a lot of approach to online. Parents are concerned by saying, I'm not getting the notifications from the school, but I got a text message from my student saying, hey, we're on secure in place, but we're okay.
Right.
Where are we drawing that line?
So the first scenario, and you guys can help me out if you think of something better. The first scenario I think of is a student needs to go home for whatever reason. Now, if they're in the nurse's office and they need to go home, generally the nurse will call according to Power School.
Sure.
But it could be that we can't find the first or second person listed on your Power School narrative. Maybe there's someone in your phone who can get in touch with that person. Maybe it is that mom and my aunt are out shopping and I can't get mom to answer her phone, I'll try my aunt. That would be the time to use my cell phone because aunt might not be particularly in, and then,
Sure.
So I could go on and on.
Sure.
So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. On these secure lockdowns or whatnot, that's to me when we really want to send the narrative ourselves.
Yeah.
If something happens and then it quickly is over with, then that's not a time for all of our kids to get on their cell phones and call home. Because generally, I think there was a situation in Dalton where there was a secure, it was over, and no one even knew about it. No family members knew about it. Maybe one, Mr. Freeman, I don't recall. But that was the beauty of this policy, was that the kids didn't have their phones, they couldn't jump on there and make a mountain out of a molehill.
Okay.
Mr. Freeman, it was resolved, and no one was the wiser. That is a luxury of this policy because we don't want everyone telling their 250 stories to the family members. We need that narrative to come from one central location, and that's the building administrator. Does that help?
It does, and I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
And I know that Eric Martin has a
Or can you go to the podium so they can hear you at home? Thank you.
We've also been advised by Eric Martin that in a situation like that, you don't want everyone calling and people showing up at the school when you have an emergency, because you need to not have extra people to have to worry about. And also, you know, we're going to do everything to keep the kids safe and send the message as soon as we can, and we need to keep our phone lines open too, so they're not calling and calling and calling the schools. So, you know, letting the police department come in and do their thing without a lot of extra people trying to show up at the school too, because it could cause a bigger situation in most scenarios.
And it could be that Mr. Freeman or Mr. Simpson, you guys might have experienced something already this semester that would, if you want to share, you can. Otherwise, those are the two things that come to my mind. One is a medical emergency. We can't find the first 2 or 3 folks on your list. Give us someone else, you know?
And I think that's why my first example is, you know, the students in the nurse's office, hey, I need mom or dad or whomever, aunt, you know, can you help with that? I think we can all agree on that, and that makes sense. Yeah, I would just say, do we need to go to the principal to get approval for them to have the student pull their phone out in that case?
I'm sure the principal will be happy to you know, let the nurse make that call.
There you go. And that's my point. You know, if we have the ability to say, okay, look,
right,
good judgment often overrules a policy.
And most of those situations would be a case by case.
I would just say, let's all be prepared from my own experience, and they're mine, in the emergency situation when you have a mass event, if you have students who are using their phone because they're concerned, they're afraid, whatever, they're reaching out, let's just be aware that that is a social norm.
Sure.
That is something that, you know, I'll be very upfront with you. I'm not prepared to tell a student they can't reach out to a family member or a loved one in a traumatic event like that. Whether, you know, I understand we want to keep a lid on it. I respect that. I've had circumstances in my own personal life that we won't discuss that, you know, if it would have been kept under wraps, it would have been less of an event.
Right.
But at the same time, I've also been the one seeking a loved one saying, if they only had their phone, why didn't you have your phone?
Right.
So I've been on both sides. So I'm very passionate about it, and we can discuss that if we ever need to. But I would just say, you know, be aware of it. It's, you know, transparency is key. That's the buzzword of the millennium, I guess. But, you know, where do we draw that line? And are we comfortable with the consequences of drawing that line at that point?
Sure.
So that's my link. That was my help me understand, and I believe you have. Thank you.
Okay, I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just add one last little thing. I know sometimes, you know, parents, you know, when afternoon schedule things change and who's picking up where and how we're doing that. Because that's been, honestly, when I get texts from my students, it's, hey, something's changed, I need to be picked up, or I don't need to be picked up. They have Chromebooks, and your email address can be in there. So I've also received emails from my students saying, hey, you know, things have changed. And so, you know, students still have access to their Chromebooks if they need to send a message to a parent. That there's other ways to communicate scheduling changes, you know, or middle of, you know, during the school day things. They don't have to do it on a cell phone through text. So.
And your phone, if you have it set up so it can receive an email just like it does a text.
Yeah.
And I would say maybe to that, and that's a great point, by the way, but our coaches have everyone's contact information in theory. So there's that line of communication. Plus, maybe it is that you have sent an email to your mom, she hasn't responded. You go down and ask Mr. Simpson, do you mind if I call my dad?
Yeah.
Can I use the school phone to call my dad because I'm not coming home or I am coming home? Something like that. So that's a great point.
Yep. Thank you.
Other questions? So this is a regulation. You don't necessarily have to vote on it, but I really would like to have your blessing. So we're gonna push this out on the 7th with no objections, okay? If there are no objections, okay?
That's great.
Is that good enough? We don't have to vote on that, correct? Okay.
You've got our support.
Okay. Thanks very much. All right. Mr. Howard, let's pull up our enrollment report. Thank you. You have that, you should have that in your packet. I'll give you just a second to digest that. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay, Mr. Howard, the attendance, please. That's okay. Bell Heath and McCarg neck and neck. Dalton Intermediate School looks really good for November. High school, some work to do, but I know you're okay with that. Everyone's showing up for the 12 dress-up days for Christmas or something, right? All right, good. So December numbers should come back really good. Incidents, thank you. Now that's,
This is still the attendance.
oh yes, okay, sorry, yes.
And so have we been looking at folks who are coming in late that are supposed to be on time? Is that things that we're tracking as well? Because I know that that's been some concerns with some teachers, you know, the first period, second period teachers who are, yeah. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
Sure, we track that separately. And so two separate things. So just overall class tardies, they accumulate a certain number, they receive consequences for that, starting with things like lunch detention. If kids check in after 8:10, we've reset this for fall, winter, and spring extracurricular seasons. So if you get 3 strikes, then you cannot practice or play that day. So just kind of holding that standard. That, of course, that doesn't apply to everybody, but if you want to participate in practice, then you need to be here on time. So that is something that we're have an eye on. It is kind of tracked separately than Miss Gerald's work. Assistant principals are doing a lot of that work.
Sounds good. Because I know, you know, those teachers you're struggling, good. Sure. You're trying to get your students to, you know, learn that material, and it's hard when they're not in the seat.
Well, it's also distracting when the students come in late and they're making their way to their seat or whatnot.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
For attendance, can you go back? Was that the last slide, Dr. Ray?
That was the last slide.
Okay.
So we've talked about truancy being an issue, but we only have one truancy meeting. I don't understand it.
On which, are you talking about,
Truancy meetings completed. What does that mean?
is that just for November though?
Yeah.
So I would have to defer to Ms. Gerald. She's not here, but unless the principal's.
For a full month, just one truancy meeting sounds like it's going really well. But yet we've heard it's an issue.
Well,
I don't know, I mean,
I can find out from Ms. Gerald to see what's behind that column looking so clean.
that's a good thing.
It is, as long as it's accurate.
Well, it may be that those attendance warning letters are making an impact, and the school-based attendance meeting is making an impact. It seems like what she's doing is really.
What does truancy meeting mean, I guess, is the.
So
I feel like we're moving down the line, right?
Yeah.
This is like, you get the warning, and then, and then,
Right.
and then, and then. So out of 15 that had a letter sent for the high school, only 1 still ended up having to have a truancy team meeting.
I don't interpret it that way. I interpret school-based meeting is what happens after the attendance letter.
Right. And then after
That's
that.
when the parent comes in and blah, 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 but I don't want to dive too deep into it. I just don't understand what truancy meeting means. If it's not the school-based meeting,
Right.
if it's not court, what's in between
Gotcha.
that? Okay.
Well, I also think that so that means that 15 attendance letters were sent just this month from Radford High School.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a culmination, you could total it up for the year. So the truancy meeting happens here with Ms. Gerald and community partners. It's kind of the meeting that we have to have by law before they would go to court. So the school-based meeting, we have to have the
So
school.
that's where the truancy officer actually, they don't participate in the school-based meeting?
Ms. Gerald is actually at both of those meetings, but at the truancy is when you have the community partners, court services, NRVCS, and those meetings, a lot of those happen here,
They do.
correct? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you cannot file for truancy unless the division has held that meeting.
Yeah, the school-based and the truancy meeting, from my experience, were the same thing. That's
Gotcha.
what-
Yeah,
that's
here
what
they're
I remember.
separate. Mhm.
Okay.
Correct.
So I guess for me, that raises the question of, again, it's probably a question for later, but we're showing in November, the truancy meetings, the only one we had completed was at RHS, but we're showing filed with the court and court hearings associated with attendance also for DIS. They had their truancy meeting in October. That's what I was getting at. Was that, held over from last month?
All right. I didn't mean to open up a can of worms.
Nope, those are very good questions.
We're learning. We're all learning.
Right.
Sounds good.
And I appreciate the principal stepping up. Thank you. Let's move to incidents.
That's always fun to show.
Yeah, let's go ahead and click the link.
That's too big.
So I'll just give you a spoiler alert. October,
There we go.
okay. October, so it's just a few incidents higher than October, but several incidences lower than last year at this time. So we're very happy, and I'm sure Mr. Keister is very happy with those numbers. For Bell Heath, very similar.
We'll look at that.
Mr. Freeman.
That's the school that records everything.
I got in line.
I knew that was coming.
No, we've really cleaned that place up. As you know, in the past, and I've talked to you in the past, I've documented every single thing. So if a kid, today I had 4 students who were tardy to class that got silent lunch. In the past, I would have documented those in our incident reports, and so that would have increased that number from 19 up to 23. Instead, now I'm putting them in log entry, which is what they do at the high school. So the only things that are going into incident reports for Dalton and the high school now are things that result in in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension. Things that result in like silent lunch or just removal from class. They are still logged in our computer system, but in a different area in log entry. So we still have documentation that this student has had a cell phone violation, has had tardy to class, has been removed from class for a class disruption or something. They're still documented, but they're not showing up on the incident reports. So that's why that number's down from 65 last year to 19 this year.
And our incident reports are now more consistent from
we're consistent from the high school to Dalton. Is suspensions and out of school suspensions and in-school suspensions, and if someone is removed from extracurricular activities, they can't participate in extracurricular activities for some reason.
But can I just say, Mr. Freeman, that I see value in both ways, and I know that Mr. Simpson, that you're tracking, what students are having troubles with, so that you can say things to mom and dad that maybe help fix the problem. Right. So I get both ways, I do. But so in the interest of being in line with the high school, I know you're still tracking those things, I know you're still documenting them, and I know you can still use those things to have conversations with the parents. Now, it's not, so now some things are SBAR, and
correct.
That's the, what'd you call it, incident management,
right,
versus a log entry in Power School.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see the way you were doing it as a former principal, and I appreciate that. But if you want to be closer in line with the high school, I get that too.
Right.
But so it's not like we're tossing, if you're tardy and you and I have had a conversation and I tossed the referral, that's not it at all. That referral is going to be logged in Power School so that me and mom can have a conversation later on. But it's not going into SBAR, which is now, I feel really bad because that's a bummer to fill out the SBAR entry, but I get it.
Yes.
So thank you.
But, yeah, I was going to say, this is then that makes this comparison not actually legitimate. Do you know what I mean?
So in October, he was logging everything into SBAR, and now he's just going to log his major infractions.
But I'm talking about November 2024 to November 2023. It's still not exactly a fair. it's not a fair comparison.
Right, because last year,
actually.
that's the way he was doing, he was
Sure.
logging everything.
Yes.
Take a couple of months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna
right.
take your data to catch up with historical data, but from what you said, you would have still been about 23 if you would have recorded it the way you would have before.
Oh, no, that was just an example.
Okay.
That today alone, I had 4 students that received silent lunches for tardies, and so that would have increased that number 19, those 4 tardies, had I documented them the way I had
See,
been.
you had a chance, because I was getting ready to give
Trying
you
to
the
give you the
kudos for
Right.
like
I know.
you're still doing the best than everybody else around, and you're still a third of what you were, but you ruined it. So,
So at least
thank you for
so
what you
at least
do.
for Dalton,
I'm
at
sorry.
least for Dalton, for the remainder of the school year, the historical data is not gonna,
Right,
Right.
the
But for the
month to
other
month
schools, it
would
will.
probably be the best way to
Yeah.
compare.
yeah.
Right.
So procedurally, if a student comes to the board, what we have got in the past was a printout of Power School of all the disciplines.
You'll still get that.
That the ones not documented in Power School would still be, are both
He's-
systems in Power School?
He's putting them both in, he's putting them in both Power School and in Incident Management, which is S-bar. Well, that's gets reported to the state, and it's a whole big thing.
When you go into Power School, you have 2 choices. You can do an incident report, which is what you're seeing here, be for a major offense, or you can do a log entry. And so, yes, if a student did come before the board for some hearing, then you would get a copy of all the log entries that they've had, as well as the incident reports.
And you may do this. I used to log things that weren't disciplined. I used
Yes,
to log.
absolutely.
I used to log good news in there. When you go back and look at it, you'd go back and see, hey, Junior, remember last year when you were dressed up?
And we log entries, Ms. Saunders will log entries of her meetings with students and counseling services. Ms. Gerald logs communication she's had with parents about attendance issues. So those things are
They're just-
documented in there
And
as
they're
well.
just coded different.
Yes.
So if Mr. Freeman wants to pull out a certain code, that would be his tardies. So he could pull all those out, and that skips Miss Gerald, and that skips
Right.
Miss Saunders.
Yes.
I got it now. Thank you.
Thanks.
I appreciate the consistency. To me,
Right. Right.
not to me, but to people taking their chair, at least you'll be able to see it consistently across all.
Fair enough. So November this year looks a lot better than November last year at the high school, and actually a whole lot better than October. So kids were busy in academics. Questions about the high school?
Looks great.
It does look really good. Well, thank you, Mr. Howard. We do not have capital projects to report on, although in January, we will report on the concession stand at the auditorium lobby, and we'll report on the progress of the new upholstered auditorium seats. That work is to begin the minute the band concert is over, and will commence on or about January 31st, although I was reminded today by the folks that are going to be in the auditorium, there's a lot of seats in there. And I said, well, you knew that when you quoted me the price, I hope. I hope they're not trying to set me up for, but I said, well, you can't blame it on the weather, because you'll be inside. We're also thinking about the lift that's there. I really want the board to consider a ramp, and we get rid of that lift. It's ugly, it's inoperable, so it doesn't help us at all. It hinders, and I think that our friends at Extreme can build a ramp on the right side of that stage that will take care of all that problem. So we're gonna look into that. I've already got that price quoted, so. All right.
All right.
At this time, under other reports, sorry,
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to welcome Dr. McDaniel and Mr. Simpson to the podium to talk about some course selections that we'd like to see added to our high school course offerings.
You have the list of courses there, and I just want to say there are really a couple of purposes for this. One is to give our students more opportunities.
Could, Mr. Howard, could you bring that up off of the, is that?
have it?
No,
You don't have it?
We don't
we
have
don't
that.
usually have those other things.
I'm getting there, give me 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
We can run through them really quick too. I'll let you do that.
Oh, wow.
Can you read
Do you
that?
want a hard copy? You
Well,
want a hard
there's
copy?
several pages.
No, that's okay.
You okay?
I've looked at it and I'll look on
Can
here.
you zoom it all?
A lot of these courses are dual enrollment, and AP courses because we want to give our students a lot more opportunities to earn college credits. This is also in line with, you remember a few months ago, we talked about in our accreditation for this last year, the CCCRI, that's this credentialing kind of things. The new accountability system we talked about is 3E, and one of the components of that is students getting college credits to taking AP courses, dual enrollment courses, and that sort of thing. So having more opportunities for that will also help us increase that number because it's calculated a little bit differently. And the other good news about that is all of the things that we've proposed are courses that we wouldn't require us to hire additional staff because we have people that are qualified to teach these courses. So you can talk about any specifics.
All right, and most of these came from, as we look ahead to next year, each department head, we asked, okay, in your departments, are there courses that you would like to offer, additional electives, with an emphasis on DE and AP and teachers that were credentialed to teach those courses? And if they submitted it and it made sense, we had to do some conversation with New River about, okay, which courses would it line up with at the college level. So you can see, we can go over the list. If you have any questions, you can let me know. But from the English, they want to offer a creative writing elective. And I guess another thing to say up front is, of course, all of these are driven by student demand. So we could add this to the course catalog, and if 2 students sign up, we're not going to run that course. It's just giving kids more choice, and if it's something that sparks an interest and we get 25 kids to sign up, we would like to run that course for students. So we have creative writing, the AP environmental science course. Many of these courses, including AP environmental, a lot of students are taking it through Virtual Virginia. So they're not in our catalog right now. We want to bring it in and give kids a chance to take it face-to-face with us. DE Spanish 4 and AP Spanish 5. Excited about that to give kids an opportunity. Right now, kids could go 1, 2, 3 and really get that for their advanced diploma, but not have a ton of incentive to take Spanish beyond that, other than I just really love Spanish. Spanish 4 and 5 might look good on their high school transcript, but DE and AP would look better. It would also go towards our accreditation numbers. We have DE Art Appreciation, DE Music Appreciation, dual enrolled with New River. And then the next set of courses, we have an unfilled ag ed position. So some of these courses would be offered with our current teacher, and some of them would be if we were able to hire an additional teacher. So Floral Design 1 and 2, Small Engine Repair, Small Engine Technology 1 and 2, Ag Science and Technology, that's a middle school course. Ag Science Exploration, also a middle school course. And then dual enrolled Western Civilization through the Social Studies Department. They would also like to offer AP World History. And then lastly, Piano Lab, which we referenced earlier that Mr. Good was a Radford High School Foundation winner. So should that course be approved and if enough kids are interested, the foundation has offered to help pay for the cost of those keyboards that he would need for that course. All right. Any questions about those?
So I guess my question always, we have all these wonderful electives. So how do students take as many electives as they want within the scheduling that we offer? If you can only have, in 9th and 10th grade, you can only have 2 electives, right? And 11th and 12th, it depends on, if you're taking a language, that only gives you 1 extra elective. So how can students take all these amazing classes within the scheduling? And I don't know if you're the person I should be asking. How do we schedule it so that they can take advantage of these? We could get 25 students in a creative writing class.
Right, so throughout high school, you have 28 opportunities to earn credit, 7 times 4. And so a standard diploma requires 22, an advanced studies diploma requires 26. So some of these electives, they are electives like AP Environmental Science, or for example, AP World History. It's kind of an elective, but it also would fulfill one of the core contents. So there's some overlap there, right? That it wouldn't always be above and beyond that 22 or 26. Sometimes it would be fulfilling one of the core content, but also be a choice for that student.
Okay.
So that's one answer to your question.
Okay.
And as kids progress through high school, they have more freedom in their schedule to take more. Usually you take more core as a freshman and sophomore, and then as you fulfill those, you have more choice later on. And I think sometimes kids might take the same type of course for multiple years, and this might offer more variety for them to expand their horizons.
I was curious when I was reading through the information earlier. Two questions that came up immediately. One you've partially addressed, and I appreciate that, was literally who is teaching this and where's the funding coming from? You know, because my concern was, especially, you know, I do understand some of the courses we can cover with existing faculty, but when I was specifically the agri-science and floral design, things of that nature, you know, small engine repair, I have the utmost respect and absolute confidence in our CTE, you know, teacher, but knowing we do have the one open position, so that was an answer to that. You know, we're looking at potentially filling in that. But one comment that was made that does kind of make me raise my eyebrows, to say that we were looking at the digital catalog of things that we can offer and then pulling that into our in-person catalog. Is there truly an advantage to that, as opposed to utilizing the benefit of, could we best serve our in-person ability by maintaining that digital catalog and expanding that, using that even more? And I really feel like it's something we're not really using to our full advantage, because, you know, I've seen students, I've heard students saying, I can't take this in person, but I can take it virtually. Right. And that still fulfills that course requirement. They're still a Radford, you know, high school student. Help me understand the benefit of pulling that in person outside of the collaboration, you know, of having it in the building.
Sure. So AP Environmental is a good example of that. Because, so I think some of this snowballs, right? If you know that there's a teacher in the building that's teaching AP Environmental, once that class makes and it runs, then kids are excited about it, like, oh, you should take that course next year with this teacher. So right now, I think we probably have 3 to 5 kids who wanted to take that course. Maybe they through the registration process, they knew they wanted to take it. They knew they could take it through Virtual Virginia, and they were able to take it. I would argue it's a better experience for them to take it with our teacher. Okay. There again, we might offer it and still only have 3 kids sign up, but we might have, if the interest is there, we would like to staff that, because we feel like they're going to get a better educational experience from our, but it wouldn't limit Virtual Virginia. That whole course catalog is still open to them. Sure. And all of that is online. We just don't pull their entire course catalog into our document.
And that's I guess what I'm wanting to make sure we don't go down that slippery slope of saying, you know, we have students who want to take this, so we're just going to pull it away from virtual, you know, and bring it in person because we can. I agree with that. I also think, you know, because of that, I have 2 students who have done virtual and, you know, a hybrid scenario, and they've benefited greatly because, you know, to take an additional French class in person, there was 3 to 5 students who were interested. The class didn't make, but there were 22 students virtually that they still had an interaction with. They heard different dialect. They heard native speakers that we just can't afford to provide them in person. So I think there's pros and cons on both sides. I just want to make sure that we're looking at that, as opposed to making, you know, I'm not saying we're making it a preference to pull in person, but I just want to make sure we're, you know, considering all angles, and it sounds like you are, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think if there was a student that wanted to take a class that didn't make, then it wouldn't be fair to keep them from, we would obviously give them the virtual option.
Certainly.
But if there's a dozen or 15 kids that wanted to take it in at the high school with a live teacher, then I see a lot of advantages to that as well.
I agree.
So, no, we're not going
to. AP Statistics, Psychology, Physics are some of our more popular ones that we either don't have the staffing, right, or you kind of get less than 10 each year. So those didn't make as much sense to try to offer in person, because we kind of know historically how many kids have taken those virtually.
But we'll always have the virtual option. It's just too valuable. It adds too much to the overall experience. Any questions?
I hope that you'll find ways to promote these, since they're new and you're not going to have any previous takers to speak to those, that our students will be very aware that they have these additional choices.
Yes, that's a great point. We've talked about how to do that with our
Good.
teachers, and
Good.
we talked about, should we do something during the day, as we did our club fair, or can we do an evening where we invite parents and educate them about not only diploma requirements and those kinds of things, but also our new course offerings.
great. That's great.
Those are all really good questions. Are there any others? We really wanted to get these in the course of studies now. Doesn't mean we necessarily would be teaching them next year, but they'll be there as a holder, so that if we do get fully staffed, or, you know, kids suddenly take an interest in small engine repair, which I hope they do, then we'll be prepared for that, with no additional staff and no additional qualifications or licensure needed. Now, there will be a little bit of a lift on financially for materials, but I think we've got the operating budget for that. Okay?
It's exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much.
Do we need to approve those?
Yes. Let's move that down to,
So I need to ask for a motion to move the new
course offerings?
course offerings.
I don't need to interject. I think those would be included in the new program of studies, which is approved in January. Is this separate? Do they have to be approved separately?
Have we done that in the past? If they approve that now, so you'll have
It'll
to.
just be included in January.
So-
Typically, we've always put the course catalog in front of you, and if there's been a new course past the course catalog approval, we'll come back to you, like if you needed something.
So in other words, if we throw these in the new course catalog coming out in January, they can approve it all one time. Okay. Good deal.
Makes sense.
Right. And so, also, thanks again, Mr. Simpson, for the communication devices regulation update. I asked Ms. Blankenship to move that down to action items, but we don't necessarily need to vote on that.
I don't feel a need to vote on it.
Okay.
It's just a change in implementation, not a change in the policy.
Because we feel like the policy is going to be, you know, it's going to change in January, but we will have already been there.
Okay.
Because we don't want this to come out, you know, a couple of weeks where the kids could use it at lunch, and then all of a sudden we switch gears overnight.
Right.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Why a regulation instead of a policy? Does the governor's mandate require a policy, or is that in his language?
So
That is one or the other?
the regulation is what we do with a policy that is above and beyond, or how we make it ours. I've got that backwards. A policy, can you help me? You didn't want to, she said, don't make me talk.
Procedure regulation is a legal requirement.
So VSBA, we follow the VSBA and we approve what they put out. Sometimes we do not. So a regulation, sometimes on the VSBA will say you need to put a regulation with this to make it your own. So a
Right.
regulation is something that we use to go with the VSBA policy, because we might have a little different views on what theirs is, because you cannot change a VSBA regulation. It has to be word for word. I mean, they're regular policy. A regulation, you can change that.
And generally, that's above and beyond. Well, it can't be less. It needs to be above and beyond. So when the policy, when the policy comes out in January, then we're already there.
If that's the case, the way you just explained it, then why does the board not vote on a regulation? If that's what we're doing within our division to make it our own, why does the board not vote on a regulation, but we do on policies?
That I can get you an answer to.
I'd love to know. I've been wondering that for 4.5 years.
Oh, good, I'm glad that you're, I'm glad it's not
curious.
just this one you've decided.
Yeah.
Yeah, share that all around when you, yeah.
And
That's
I know
okay, we
we
can
don't
handle
have to vote on a regulation, but if what you said is true, and I'm sure it is, then it makes no sense to me that the board doesn't vote on something that we're
That
crafting
adapts
for
it to
ourselves.
Right.
Right, that makes it
There's
Radford's.
There's
Yeah.
no common sense in that whatsoever.
Mhm.
Well, I do know that we used to vote on it, and then at some point, I might be wrong, at some point, I think they said the regulation is for us, so we don't have to do that. Now, some of VSBA, like I said, does have a note and says you must make a regulation to go with this policy. So we adopt that policy, and then we do our own regulation, and sometimes it says you have to choose option 1, option 2, or option 3. And then sometimes you'll have to choose those and not do your own.
I understand. I just don't understand why we're not required to vote on something that we're drafting for ourselves.
I'll find out.
And
Yeah.
I think to your point, it goes back to if we follow that verbiage of the policy is handed down, we have to follow the policy verbatim. There's no reason to vote on that because we don't have a choice to make any difference, so we just have to accept it.
And those are the ones we vote on.
And those are
Yeah.
the ones we've been voting on
Right.
for a while, to your point.
For you guys to
because
sort out.
Yeah.
you know, for us to sort out. But the regulation is a policy directive that we have customized to our district, therefore it's a regulation by that definition, which is why we haven't been voting on that for a while, but in common sense, following logic, we should.
But you know what we can do?
Right.
We
Make
can
that
vote
happen.
on this.
We can do it as an action item
Yeah.
tonight, and then it's not gonna hurt anything if you have it.
Yeah,
and
I'm
you
not
don't do
asking
it.
for that. I'm just, I
curious.
want clarification. I've always wanted the clarification, and there are multiple reasons why, but historically, but I would just like to know that before the end of December.
He has it penciled in, if you guys wanted to.
Oh, it's on my agenda. If you,
I don't care about voting. That's not my intent. That was just literally, I need some education.
I agree. But from a PR, would you rather open it for a motion? I'm not
What are
trying
we
to take
voting on now? I've forgotten.
the cell
The
phone
cell phone,
update.
bell to bell.
Policy update.
I really don't care one way or the other.
Does anybody else have an opinion on it?
My request would be that we get clarification on the requirements between a policy and a regulation as to which requires a board vote, which doesn't, and that we begin, frankly, the new year with a new board in place, with a clarification of the expectations of what we're acting on and why, if that's acceptable to everyone else.
I think what you're after, can we implement this policy in December, one way or the other?
In January.
Whether it's a vote or not.
What I would like is.
You wanna start promoting it in December.
Okay.
Right, and I would like to ease the mind of Mr. Freeman and Mr. Simpson by saying, you know, you got a 5-0 vote on
Let's
this,
vote on it.
go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do, yeah.
I will
the
entertain a
heck?
motion if anybody would like to make a motion.
I move that we vote on the communication devices policy update.
Okay.
Put it on our action items.
All right, I have a motion.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We will do that here in just a moment. Is there anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Reports of board members. Does anybody have any reports to share with us?
We had
Sure, Chris.
we had our December meeting at New River Community College President's Board. It was bittersweet, as I mentioned last month. Dr. Huber she officially retires the 31st of this month. Dr. Brandon was there to continue introductions to everyone on the board and their families that were in attendance. The December meeting's always fun. It's always celebratory, and there's still a lot to do because we have curriculum and everything that comes up. So it was good. It was a good time spent by all, and of course, you know, Bradford is always represented in those meetings, the relationship we have with New River Community College. So it's interesting. There's a lot of things happening at New River. There's some exciting things, some new course offerings, some new opportunities, new professors, new staff. There's actually some updates to the facility that are going on. It's going to be really attractive up there. There's some coverings over some walkways, et cetera. So if you have a chance, go see it. You know, it really is an amazing thing. If you haven't been up there in about 10 years, you won't recognize it in the best possible ways, because it truly is inspiring. And, you know, I think it is a campus that even for a junior college, it represents on par with any university I think we find in our area.
Nice.
Without a question, without a doubt. Outside of that, I would actually just reiterate, despite some comments from other people that, you know, we don't want to mention the band too much. I don't think you can mention the band too much. Best band in the land for a reason. As Natalie had mentioned, the 17th, we have the band concert. Absolutely, if you have never been to Santa breakfast at the school, oh my goodness. Yes, it actually is a bigger event than what you've seen. It's a must attend. It really is. It's fantastic. In the past, it's coincided with some other events I've had to deal with, and I had to run in late, but it's still worth going. The food is great. The communication is fantastic. The students are wonderful to hear. If you ever heard a room full of young people singing Christmas carols, go. It's worth that. The coffee is amazing, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Big fan.
Okay.
The decorations are inspiring. So this Saturday, get your tickets, go, get your picture taken with Santa, have a great time with it. Some people I know have been there with some fantastic sweaters in the past. Strongly recommend that, so go and have a great time. But outside of that, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everyone.
Anyone else?
School board member-elect Brian Dobbins and I were able to attend an Empower Ed symposium sponsored by the School Board Member Alliance, and it was just packed with speakers with so much information. We could hardly contain it all, but it reminded me of the description of BSBA. We heard from speakers about strategic plan, which is something that is in the works now, FOIA fundamentals, budgeting, the new accountability framework. We got to hear from the top 3 elected officials in the state. They paid us a visit, and there was lots of networking opportunity to talk to other school board members, what their challenges are, and what they've been successful with. We exchanged business cards so we could stay in contact, and it was just a very exciting experience. And I think Mr. Dobbins will bring a lot of that with him.
Thank you. Anyone else?
The Governor's School for the Arts that being developed in conjunction with Radford University is to have their proposals finalized and are working with folks in Richmond to determine what stakeholders to include on helping to do that presentation to the board, and that will be in January. So we're waiting to hear what school division needs to send what kind of stakeholders to that meeting. So
We're almost to the finish line.
we almost are.
It's very exciting.
Good. Jody, do you have anything?
May I? I attended a celebration for David Ridpath yesterday, and I will say I will miss working with Mr. Ridpath. I'm sorry that we only overlapped for about a year. I consider him a friend of Radford City Public Schools, and he'll be missed.
Very good. And I'll just add, as our last meeting here for Jody and myself, it's been 4.5 years. We got a bonus 6 months that we weren't expecting. It's been an experience. It's been all the things. And I just wanted to say thank you to the Radford City Schools community, to the teachers, to the administrators, to the staff, to the students, to the families, for entrusting in us the opportunity to represent you all here at this table. The people here working in the school board office have been nothing but wonderful in helping me figure out what I'm supposed to be doing as chair. And so they've all been very gracious and supportive through many ups and many downs. And I'm really excited for the future of Radford City Public Schools. I think we've got an outstanding team, and I just wish everybody the best. And I don't plan to completely disappear, but I'm really excited for everybody, and I appreciate everybody who ran for office. It's not easy to make the decision to run and to go through the whole election cycle process. It's really, really difficult. So congratulations to you too for joining the board, and thank you to everybody who chose to run. So yeah, thanks for the memories.
Your children are in good hands.
Your children are in very good hands. All right, so let's move on to our action items. We have our JFCR communication devices policy update. Do I have a motion to approve the policy update? Regulation. Do I have a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you so much. Do we need a closed meeting this evening?
Madam Chair, I move that the board convene into closed session pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 to discuss the appointment, resignation, and retirement of employees of the school board, as well as admission of students.
All right, a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're in closed. Thanks so much. Can I have a motion to convene in regular session, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, Dr. Ray, can you certify our closed meeting, please?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we certify a closed session for section 2.2-3711, reason number 1 and reason number 2.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we've got personnel matters 1.0 as amended. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We have no student matters, but we do have a tuition student. Do I have a motion to approve the tuition students?
Yes.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, the date for the next regular organizational board meeting is January 14th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the School Administration Building. We are adjourned. We are adjourned.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.